All right, as it is 7 o'clock, I'll call this meeting of the Oconee County Planning Commission to order. Good evening and welcome to the January 18th, 2022 meeting of the Oconee County Planning Commission. We are a recommending body to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners. Decisions made tonight on rezoning requests and other issues will be forwarded to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners or appropriate city council for final action. Tonight's agenda and sign-in sheets for people wishing to speak are available outside the commission chambers. Were available outside. This is the procedure we follow. The Oconee County Planning Department staff presents their report and recommendations on each request. Public input is received from the petitioner or petitioner's representative. Public input is then received from a group representative or any individuals speaking in favor of the request. This period will be limited to 20 minutes total. Public input is then received from a group representative or any individuals speaking in opposition to the request. This period will also be limited to 20 minutes total. The petitioner or petitioner's representative is allowed an opportunity for response or clarification if time remains in the 20-minute period. The public input session will then be closed. The Planning Commission will discuss the request and may ask questions of the Planning Department staff and/or the petitioner. Upon a motion and a second, and after any discussion of the motion, the Planning Commission will vote on the motion. The commission may elect to approve, modify, place conditions on, table, or deny a motion. We ask that you observe the following items regarding public input. Upon approaching the podium, please state your name and home address. Please direct your comments to the Planning Commission and not to the audience. When there are multiple speakers, please avoid repeating statements made by previous speakers so that there is time to hear from everyone. We ask that the audience extend the courtesy of not applauding or commenting on any of the speakers. First item of business is approval of the minutes. Commissioners, you have a copy of the minutes from the December 13th, 2021 meeting. Please take a moment to review and indicate any corrections, changes, or modifications. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion to approve from Scott and a second from Chris. All right. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Unanimous. First order of business, new business, is rezone P21-0214 Frazier Creek Investments LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is rezone number P21-0214, Frazier Creek Investments. Oops, I think we might have the wrong one pulled up here. Just a minute. Okay, there we go. All right, see the location here along Acock Road and Race Church Road. The current zoning is AG agricultural, and it lies in the Country Estates character area. The request is to go from AG agricultural to AR agricultural residential in order to subdivide into 2 residential lots of at least 2 acres each. Here's the concept plan. And a little bit more zoomed in here. This will be a minor subdivision, 2 lot split with access off of Acock Road. Staff recommends approval subject to 1 condition. This is a standard rezone condition. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll hear from the petitioner or the petitioner's representative.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Carter with Carter Engineering Consultants representing Fraser Creek Investments. Um, Fraser Creek Investments is owned by Tony Townley, a local farmer who has grown up in Oconee County and lives just right down the road and desires to take this 4 acre, a little over 4 acres, and split it into 2 lots and build 2 really nice homes. So I will be glad to try to answer any of your questions or concerns. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? We have several people signed up to speak in opposition. The first person is Patrick Whitehead.
Spot here, let me go first. My name is Patrick Whitehead. I live at 1493 Raised Church Road. My grandfather built that house in the early 50s. We've lived there on that land for a number of years. A few years back, we opposed a subdivision adjacent to us where the school bus maintenance shelter is now, that Oconee County has. We didn't want subdivisions in. I don't think many of us want them now. It's nice and quiet out there. It's the reason we live in Oconee County. It's rural, it's quiet, there's not a lot of traffic. Putting in subdivisions is going to add extra people, extra cars, extra noise, a variety of things that I feel like a lot of us there don't want, mainly me. I'm speaking for myself, not everybody else, but I, for one, would not want to see this happen. This county is growing a lot, and that's, good and bad, I guess. I like it quiet out there. I don't want a bunch of noise, no bunch of houses to look at. I know there's a gentleman down the street from me that I've known probably my entire life, Mr. Frazier. And this property kind of encompasses and surrounds him, which if I were him, I wouldn't like that at all. Just thank you for taking a minute and listening to me. I'm not interested in having a subdivision near our house where we can see it and have extra folks and noise and pollution and everything else around. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Joan and Whitehead.
Well, this is my son Patrick, and we've lived there, like he said, for a number of years. And we just object to subdivisions coming in up there, and we still like the quiet. Even though the bus shop is next door to us, we did not disapprove of it because we knew that it would keep subdivision out from there. So we just object to all these new houses being built right around us, raising our taxes even more. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Matt Alexander.
Hi, I'm Matt Alexander. I live at 1531 Acock Road, which is about a half mile from this parcel that we're discussing. I'm here tonight because I wanted to find out what it was all about other than what's on the internet. And because I had a few concerns that I wanted to make sure that were considered during the board's deliberations. I have 3 concerns, and in no particular order. The first one is traffic. It says that there will be 20 additional daily car trips generated by these 2 new homes. And the traffic is going to come out on Acock Road, and from there it can go one of 3 directions, all of which end up in a very busy intersection, either at Snows Mill Road and Highway 53 or Grace Church Road and Highway 53. I don't know whether y'all know a lot about those 2 intersections, but we hear a lot of ambulances and fire trucks going out that way. And I know personally driving around there that it's not a good place to drive around. Second is water. It's indicated that these houses will have individual wells. Now, I have a well, and as people put more and more and more wells in, I'm concerned that the aquifer can't handle that or will be negatively impacted by additional wells. You can say I'm a half mile away and I'm on a different aquifer, but we don't know what it's like under there. I don't anyway. And there's only so much of the water. Now, third is the homes themselves. Now, Mr. Townley built 3 houses next to my property recently. And I went in them while they were being built, and they're well built. They're nice houses. They look good on the outside. I think they have a weird floor plan, but that's just me. They're decent sized. It says they're going to be 1,800 square feet at a minimum, but they're rental properties. And I'm afraid that these little enclaves of 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s are going to pop up all over that section of the county. And we'll have a rental area of the county. And I you know, rental's fine. I was a renter at one time, but people who rent houses don't put down roots normally. People who rent houses are less inclined perhaps to maintain their houses well. Now, I'm not going to say that people who own their houses don't maintain them, or that people who own their houses don't move in and out. But I think we all understand that renters have less incentive to keep things the way they should be here in Oconee County. That's why we all live here and pay high taxes. So those are my concerns. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I'm struggling with the next name. Looks like it begins with Mech. And I need you to help me, please. Could be. What's your first name, sir? We'll take it. Yes, sir. Come on.
Dwayne McCannon, I live 1513, been there since 1976, been in the county all my life, but I'm like Mr. Alexander said, he built 3 nice houses beside us, but every time it rains, it floods the dang lake behind us. Mud. Nope. Mud. Now, it's not affecting my place at 1511, but the ditch is running. I haven't seen any silk fence down through there. And that bottom on my property is flooded. But that's not what we're talking about here. Mr. Fraser, I oppose it because they are crowding Mr. Fraser out. Mr. Fraser been there all his life, done paid for the place twice. And I don't like it. I don't like the traffic, all that stuff. Everything they said, I know you said not repeat it, but it's a bad idea. It's dangerous out on that highway. Now we can't even get out on Acock Road. We have to be careful. If it ain't for bicycles, farm equipment, and got people flying through there, and this is going to create more traffic. And that's all I got. And I oppose it.
Thank you, sir. Brandy Brown.
Hello, I'm Brandy Brown. I live at 1471 Acock Road. We're all here today opposing not just Article 1, but Article 2, both of those properties being rezoned. We have an awesome write-up that my mother will read next because I think she had signed, and it states about both of the properties. The 3-pod that Mr. McCannon was speaking about is right next to my property. So we have dealt with that. The renters, not saying nothing bad, but at the same time, renters. Getting into that shortly. I have 2 questions that actually involve what will be spoken about. With the character area future outlook up to 2040, the map had said that this area would be developed into country estates. And I know that it was proposed that these 2-acre plots with residential would be country estates, upscale living, but it's still renters, bottom line. And the question is, with the description of what the country estate zone will end up being, it's in between the suburban neighborhood and the rural area. And it states it's transitional residential with ag, stating if you wanted a house with, say, horse farm and hay and timber on that area, but it doesn't define like how many acres to the residence or to your horse farm. It's very vague. So that was one of our big questions going forward with this. And that the projected to 2030 or to 2040 also was including infrastructure. Like they said, with the road up at 53, especially in Ray's Church, and know that the roundabout will be coming within a 2 to 3 year time frame. If that is already needed because of congestion, it's almost as if we needed to wait till the infrastructure around that area is completely done. We have road issues also, potholes hadn't been resurfaced, Matthews or ACOC in decades. So there's a lot of different things that will probably be repeated, but it's for both of those. So the first question is the definition of country estates, what that is, because it's very vague. What does it mean, especially for future to come? And I forgot the other one. I think that was pretty much it. Because it was in the two different areas, we needed to know exactly what that was and if that would include having just all rental properties.
Thank you. Next is either Mandy or Alvaro. Yes, please.
Hey, I'm Mandy Moriera. I live at 1535 Daniels Bridge Road, but I grew up on Acock Road. It's my mom and sister, and I lived there my whole life. And I moved to Atlanta because my husband was working in Atlanta, and that's where I was for a little while. And after we had our second child, she was 2 months old, we decided to move back. And I said, I want to raise my kids in Oconee County because of the schools, because of the community, because it's small. It's not Atlanta. It's not traffic. It's not all these things. And since we've been back 6 years, it's amazing at how fast it's grown. And it's so wonderful. And it's such a great community. But if you've ever rode down Acock Road, if you've ever seen how pretty it is, if you've ever seen all the farmland and the cows and just the beauty of it, you know, we have to stop these small, tiny little developments coming in. And, you know, the Townley's already putting these 3 little houses right by my sister's, my mom's property is, you know, it's already an impact. My aunt passed away a couple of years ago, and we bought her small home that we're completely restoring, which actually backs up to all this land. My dad's farmhouse, my dad passed away many years ago, but the farmhouse he grew up in, it's 100 years old, is also on this property. My uncle still owns it in a nursing home that's going to pass away soon. So we're trying to buy it from him. It was also tried to be purchased by the Townleys. They were trying to scoop it up and I'm sure build more tiny little rental homes. We want to restore these things and hang on to them. You know, they've already torn down another road, another beautiful home that was on Acock and Matthews, an old home. You know, we're losing these old homes. We're losing this land, and this county is going to change real fast. It already has. So I feel that, you know, building all these little rental homes it's just not going to benefit us in the long run. So I'm here to oppose it as someone that grew up here, someone that knows the land and appreciate all this. We have to hang on to this for our kids and our grandkids. We're going to end up like Gwinnett County real soon, you know? And what's the point of having all these renters come in? You know, I mean, I get it. People want to buy it. They want to live here, but we pay high taxes. I moved back here for that. And just to preserve, you know, all this land's really important. And if you've never rode down Acock Road, I advise that you do because it's beautiful. We need to keep it that way. If this starts now, it's going to continue. I have a good feeling that the Townley's going to keep buying and keep changing everything. You know, his dad was a great farmer, still is. They've got so much farmland, and that's such a really cool thing about the Townleys. You know, Tony's a nice guy, nothing personal, but this development is coming fast. And if we don't go ahead and put a halt early on, I'm afraid it's just going to change this county. Thank you.
Grace, I see we have 7 minutes left. Is that about right for you? Okay. Deborah Brown.
I'm going to read this right quick. I hope I don't double up what things have been said. My name is Deborah Brown, and I have lived at the same address on Acock Road for 50 years. I moved here after I married my husband and moved onto his family land that had been farmed for nearly 100 years. Oconee County has long been known for its beautiful agricultural lands and rural living, and that is why I've stayed all these years. Today, along with many of my neighbors, I stand to protect what I love about the place I call home. Excuse me. Tonight, I would like to address several concerns and state my opposition to the proposed rezone of properties along Acock Road, rezone number P 21-0214, and also the second one on your agenda, which is rezone number P 21-0215. I would like to address inconsistencies of the character areas identified in the comprehensive plan updated in 2018, as well as impacts and strain on our community resources, infrastructure, and the local environment. According to the 2018 character areas map, which I have one and I'll give to you, the initial plans outlined for the 2040 projected development of the county defined that this particular area be country estates. The vague description of this particular area, as outlined in the Joint Comprehensive Plans Character Area Summary Table, lies between rural places and suburban living. Rural places are defined as having active farming and scattered single-family houses with large lots of 5+ acres. Suburban living areas are noted to have a high volume of residential growth. Country estates, an area of low-intensity land use, is not identified to have specific residential requirements other than residentially compatible agriculture. Rental properties or subdivisions like the 7 houses listed in the 2 rezone applications, the 2 that you're speaking of now, and 5 more to follow the second rezone on your thing by the same people. In addition to 4 other rentals within a mile on Acock Road that have recently been built are unlikely compatible with agricultural practices. The addition of new rental properties will increase the existing strain on local community resources. Homeowners, in comparison to renters, which I was under the understanding that these homes will all be rental homes, are often more invested in the growth of the county by placing their roots here. Those members pay taxes to the county and invest their time and energy into being supportive members of our community. The increase in population in such a dense area will put further strain on our local volunteer fire and medical services out of North High Shoals Fire Station. And I'm also a firefighter and first responder for Oconee County and have been for about 27 years. So I kind of know a little bit about that. Our schools are rapidly growing with many new schools being built and school rezones, moving children to different schools to accommodate space. The pandemic has created many social, emotional impacts that have decreased the volunteer and school services that are necessary to support our community. These factors are all necessary and will be greatly impacted by a large and rapid increase in population in our local community. The infrastructure in the area identified in the rezone is crumbling and not able to accommodate additional traffic in its current state. There are many potholes. Acock Road has no shoulder. Matthews Road has not been resurfaced in decades, though these roads are utilized for school traffic and school buses. Many of the impacted roads surrounding the property are on the county's current, are not on the county's current list to be repaved, despite the new roundabout being proposed at Highway 53 and Race Church Road. There are many individuals already impacted by the conditions of the road and congestion of the traffic that are not being addressed. The addition of new construction and more vehicles will add to the strain. I'm almost done. As a rural community, the impacts on the environment are of great concern. The waste that will be produced by both construction and additional building will result in more trash being placed in our landfills and water systems. Water systems will also be impacted by runoff and chemicals used in construction and at the residences. Our local wildlife as well as farm animals will be forced to drink from contaminated streams and creeks. Additional lighting will create more light pollution, impact wildlife, and disturb the peaceful darkness of living in the country. Our abundant wildlife will no longer be able to traverse the land as they always have. There are generations of wild animals that live safely in our community that will have their homes disturbed and destroyed. Many of them will lose their lives or disappear. The environmental impacts are too great to ignore. Finally, I have also collected a number of my neighbors' signatures that also oppose the rezone request, and I'll turn those in. We are all very concerned about the impacts that this will have on our lives and the county. We do not want to see our county turn into something that has never been imagined. Growth is both inevitable and important for the continued development of our beloved county. This growth has and will continue to come in many forms, but it should align with the goals of ensuring that our community retains its rural roots and stable foundations. Oh God, thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes the time we have available in opposition. The petitioner does have time to respond.
Thank you. I too live around the corner from the Townleys. And I can tell you that every time I go through Eastville, I'm thankful for Tony Townley. I don't know if you guys remember some of the homes and some of the properties in Eastville had been kind of run down. He's done a phenomenal job. It makes it look great. Looks a lot better. Every time I ride by North Oconee High School, I look at some of the houses that he's remodeled and redone, and makes it look great. Every time I ride down Lane Creek Road and I come to that intersection of the old UGA farm and look at those barns, I'm thankful for Tony Townley. Every time I ride through the countryside, I'm thankful for the property that he's bought and turned in, kept it as farmland. I don't know how many acres he owns there, but last time I checked, it was at least 700 acres that he's really preserved. So I certainly, respect the fact that people don't want development, in the county. I do, want to make sure that we know we're talking about 2 homes in this application and a few more in the next application. So, we're not talking about a large subdivision. We are talking about somebody who is going to do a quality development. He has shown, he has a proven track record in the county of maintaining what he owns. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that this is not, somebody that just building it for an investment. This is something that he wants to do. And so I do respect that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and return the request to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for staff or the petitioner?
I have a question. I don't know if this guy here or who would be the staff.
Grace is in charge.
So questions to you then. So I would have a concern if a developer is building a set of 2+5 homes, it looks like, with the intent that they are rentals from the start. Is there something in our ability to put in place that it's approved with the condition that the original developer must sell them to owner occupied owners? Now, once they're sold the first time, all bets are off. But is there something precedent or what have you that would allow for that?
I don't know of a precedent for that. You can certainly recommend a condition that it cannot be, it has to be owner
Yeah,
occupied.
my concern is that it appears that there's already 3 in that situation that are built-in rentals owned by a developer. I would not want this to be a sweeping development of rental houses off of Acock Road. That's just my thought. If that's the case, and after other questions, I would entertain that. Or ask that be added as a condition of approval.
Okay, we'll just need that included in the motion if that's the desire of the commission.
Any other questions, comments, or?
I'll address Chris's question, because when we did a similar project up Malcolm Bridge Road, of course, the density there wasn't up against pastures and so on. But the idea of a property owner that owns majority of the surrounding property, keeping his hands and controls on who occupies those houses and how they are maintained. Because if a renter was not cooperating with his landlord, his lease wouldn't be renewed if he was degrading the property. So when he did the other project, he suggested that he might sell them. And, you know, I asked, well, shouldn't there be some homeowners association developed so that the cooperating homes in the little subdivision cooperate with each other to maintain equality and maintain the quality of the neighborhood? And I actually have since felt that the renter or the landlord idea is actually the most controlling, as opposed to, because we can't force them to create a homeowners association to maintain those 3 or 4 or 5 houses in a similar state. We don't have that power, but the idea that a landlord that lives locally that has adjoining properties that would be of concern is actually a strength, in my opinion.
Can I, this is my first meeting like this.
It's a question and
Is it
comment.
okay with
yes.
me first? So,
Sure.
so I understand that point. I guess I look at it as another way to look at it is that it can almost be a fiefdom kind of situation where his way is the only way, and the neighbors around there may have a different opinion, but because he does own those properties and all of the land surrounding, he kind of has the larger voice, if you will.
Well, and to that end, that is part of our function here, is to make sure that it still fits with the county's desires ultimately. But the idea of a renter or landlord, I don't think that's as much of an issue as I know we've heard. And you know, I suppose I would want to live next to people that took care of their property, but I know that that doesn't happen just because of ownership. That happens because of cooperation. And the planning commission type entity is to ensure cooperation by using UDCs and other codes. And in this case, a landlord controlling how those properties are maintained. I've seen the Townley company come and refurbish things probably more often than homeowners would be able to, because they have a certain amount of expectations of profits and what have you. So anyway, that's how.
I just don't think that this is that a developer knowingly building rental properties in this area is the best use for this area. That's my opinion.
Thank you. I think we've heard both of you on that point. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
I have a comment and a question for Grace. My question, Grace, is with the country estates, there's no limitation on what the residence can be. So it can be a rental or it can be owner occupied. Is that correct? It's just a minimum of 2 acres. Is that
Right,
correct?
the comprehensive plan doesn't address the type of ownership.
I mean, personally, I'm against this whole building neighborhoods for strictly rentals. I know that that's becoming a new thing in the state. But we would not even be hearing this if this had, or if this was already zoned AR, they would just go ahead and build without even having to come and ask. You know, I hate to see this, you know, if this is true. I mean, there's nothing in the application that says it's for rental, so we can, you know, take it either way, but that's just my comment.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Grace, don't sit down. Please. I have a couple of questions. For the purposes of helping the people in the audience understand, there were some questions raised about the definition of country estates and suburban living. Can you cast a little additional clarity on that in terms of how it affects this particular request?
Yeah, country estates really is that transitional kind of medium density residential and agricultural use area. Suburban living is like the name sounds, you know, it is a bit more smaller lot sizes, less agricultural, more purely residential area. So staff believes that this fits in with the country estates character area. It meets the lot sizes that are recommended.
And can you give a little additional clarity on what the minimum lot sizes are in those character areas, please?
Sure, it is 2 to 3 in country estates, and I believe it's two acres in suburban living.
Okay. Thank you. And I have a comment that I would make about this. Yeah, I think this speaks to a larger issue in our county, or a couple of larger issues in our county. And one issue is a little more arcane, and that's that the way that zoning is set up in Oconee County. In 1968, when zoning was initiated in this county, basically the entire county was zoned AG. And then any changes had to move as a step up from the agricultural zoning. And I did not live here at that time and would not speak to the reasoning behind that. I have some notions, but those aren't relevant. But the fact remains that the majority of land in this county is still zoned AG and has to be upzoned. So any rezoning request from the baseline is more intensive, and that's always going to be difficult for a variety of reasons. The second thing is that affordable housing in Oconee County is kind of an oxymoron. You don't usually hear those two phrases put together. With the average price of a house now over $400,000, it eliminates the ability of a lot of people to live in the county. And we do have a wonderful quality of life here. We have great schools. We have terrific residents. We have a government that supports the people in the community. And there's a lot of things that make it an attractive place to live. There's an argument to be made that we need some workforce housing for the people who serve in this county. From an economic development standpoint, the majority of employers in this county are service, and those jobs don't pay $150,000, $200,000 a year, which is what you have to make to be able to afford a $450,000, $500,000 house. I don't have a position on this particular request, but I think it's important that we acknowledge that this is not the last time we're going to hear about things like this, because there is a need for some more affordable housing alternatives in Oconee County. And it's a challenge with land prices the way they are, determining how we get there. That's it. Off of my soapbox. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to make the motion that I indicated before, that I still have an issue that the developer is knowingly building a number of houses that are going to be rentals. So I would like to add a condition of approval that the original sale is for owner occupied and not for rental units from the developer's perspective. Again, after the first sale, you know, whatever, all bets are off. It's like any other house being sold in the county.
All right, we have a motion to approve with an additional condition of owner occupied first owners. Do I have a second?
I have a question about that.
Okay.
Because the person who currently owns this property, are we saying that these houses have to be for sale when they are built? Or that the next sale, because he currently owns the property?
Mhm.
And are we saying on, when they are built, they have to be sold? Or are we saying that the next purchaser of these, because that's two different things. He currently owns the property. I don't know that we can force him to sell the property. But on the next sale, it could. But here again, that comes into some kind of deed restriction. I don't know that we are capable of doing that.
Grace, do you have any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I'm not sure about the legality. Obviously, I'm not an attorney. I think it may be more clear to suggest the ongoing type of occupancy. So whether it's has to be owner occupied or otherwise, rather than dealing with sales.
Okay, thank you. Chris, are you amenable to stipulating your condition as owner occupied?
Yeah, I think that has the same.
Scott, does that answer your
It
question?
does.
Okay,
I just didn't want us to get into a legal issue here.
understood. So we have a motion with additional condition. Do we have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Do we have another motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve as written with the only one clause recommended by the staff. Let it go as stands.
All right, we have a motion to approve as written. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
All right, we have a motion from Chuck and a second from Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Mike and Chuck. All those opposed signify by raising your right hand. Motion fails. Do we have another motion? All right. We have a motion from Nathan to deny. Do we have a second? We have a second from Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, and by saying in favor of, you are voting to deny the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All right, all those opposed. Motion to deny carries. Next item on the agenda is rezone case P21-0215.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is rezone P21-0215. This is just adjacent to the previous case here along Acock Road as well. Current zoning is also AG, and it is also in the Country Estates character area. The request again is to go from AG to AR. This one is to create 5 residential lots of at least 2 acres each. You can see the concept plan here. This is another minor subdivision to be accessed via private access drive. Staff recommends approval subject to 2 conditions. The first is our standard rezone condition. The second is as follows. Access to all residential lots within the development shall only be provided via the proposed private access drive. A 1-foot no access easement shall be recorded on the subject property along road frontages adjacent to Ray's Church Road, Matthews Road, and Acock Road.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the petitioner or the petitioner's agent.
Jeff Carter with Carter Engineering Consultants again, and I'm gonna go with the logic that if you don't want two homes in the county, you're not gonna want these homes. So I'm not gonna try to persuade you to agree to this development. But I do want to mention, just as a resident of Oconee, longtime resident of Oconee County, it does seem to me that restricting people from renting homes doesn't seem like a good idea. These are, to me, the key is having a development that you can put some teeth into the maintenance so it doesn't fall into disrepair and it's well maintained and it's a good development. It just seems like, that there are a lot of families that rent these days. They don't buy homes, they just rent. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think, at least in my mind, the problem becomes when you have rental property that kind of falls into disrepair. We can solve that problem by adding language to ensure that it's maintained properly. So appreciate your time. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the proposal? We have a familiar list of people signed up to speak in opposition. I will ask, in the interests of time and clarity of discussion, that if you come up, that you bring up new topics as opposed to revisiting ones that were the same as for the previous request. That said, the first person signed up is Patrick Whitehead.
Well, I think I'd be wasting time if I came up here and said too much. These wonderful people came up with a lot better information than I could come up with. I just don't want a bunch of extra houses around my house. We live where we live because it's private. We live on a 10-acre tract of land, and I like having that peace around me. And I may just simply make a suggestion. If Mr. Townley wants to build 7 houses, take one of those great big lots that's in front of his house and put it there, maybe that way he can have them close to him and not so close to us. And maybe that's me being ugly. I'm sorry if I am, but we live where we live. Mr. Frazier, Browns, these folks here, because it's private and we don't have a lot of people around us. And among the other reasons, the water supply, the noise, the traffic, the pollution, the extra people, the taxes being raised. I like my privacy and my peace where we're at, and let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Joan Whitehead. And again, let me please ask that you not repeat yourself.
Okay, I'm not gonna repeat myself, but I am gonna say thank you to the people that did their research, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you all, your volunteering.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Matt Alexander.
The two parcels are pretty much the same. So, a lot of my arguments that I've stated earlier are the same. But this time it's 5 houses, 5 wells, and 49 more car trips going into congested areas. And again, my concern is that these little enclaves are going to pop up all over this area because Mr. Townley owns a lot of property out there, and he doesn't need to farm it all, but he does need to do something with it. Now, a new thought that I had while I was listening to everybody else is these are going to be rental houses. The proposal states that the houses would, under normal circumstances, be sold for somewhere in the $250,000 to $300,000 range, which makes them more affordable than the average of $400,000. However, the rent on them is probably going to be quite high so that Mr. Townley can regulate who lives there. And that kind of negates your argument for, not that you're arguing for it, but your observation that we need more affordable housing, and I don't think this is going to be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCannon, on this sheet, your printing is so clear, it could be written by skywriting. Dwayne McCannon.
I don't have much to say. You know, we do need affordable living, but these houses are around the $2,000 range a month. That's not affordable for a $30,000 or $40,000 person a year salary. That's not gonna cover it. This guy here, Tony has done a lot for the community. We have no problem with him. Wave at him every day, go around him on tractor. We have no problem with the family or whatever, but on this road, it's not a good situation. It's already crowded. I moved out there in 76, I think 75. Dirt road. County paid the road. You hardly seen a car. Raised 4 kids. Never seen a car. You have to be careful now. There's people coming through there. The school uses it, which that's school property, county. But you got to be careful of what you doing now on Acock Road. If you don't, you're gonna have an accident. We've been lucky. We hadn't had any accidents, but I just think this traffic with these extra houses, we got 3 houses down beside mine. They look good. They nice. But I have not once had nobody come to me and say, hey, can we do something on your property line? You know, you've been here for 30, 40 years, since 76. Nobody has never come and said, hey, let me plant some trees right here and kind of give you a little bit more privacy. Nothing. Just cleared it out. I work at night, so kept me up for a year. Bulldozers, tractors, dump trucks, all day long. Nobody has never came and said, hey, what can I do for you? Do I need to help you out or whatever? Nothing for the whole year. So I think that's kind of disrespectful to the people that's living there now, because he don't have no problem. He's over in the middle on 500 acres. Ain't nobody gonna keep him up all night. But me, I've been up, I have to sleep in the basement and I still get woke up. And I think it's pretty disrespectful for people not to come, not just Mr. Townley, because he's busy. He's got a lot, but somebody could come and represent him and say, what can I help you out with? And I told the man, I give the man some trees cut down so they could cut the ditch line. Nobody never come and thank me or nothing. Just do what they gonna do, force their way in. Which there was a trailer park down there. There was 3 trailers down there. So there's no way you could oppose something like that. It was already 3 lots down there, right? He did make it look better and clean up, and I give it to him. But on the respect part, nobody has, it's like it's disrespectful to me. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Randy Brown.
Randy Brown again. Basically, same as what I had stated before in regards to the entire zoning area being country estates. And another thing with that is that I would also think that the county would believe that the country estate zone would be the larger homes with the horse farms and where it's not that suburban living. And along with the Eastville area being remodeled and refurbished and the barns and everything the Townley has done has made it better. And taking a property that was run down and making it better for renters is awesome, but not to put in brand new homes that would be rented in a huge field. So I still oppose both of those tracks being built. And right where the road for the 5 pod would drive out to Matthews Road, huge pothole. Huge pothole. Thank you.
Andy and/or Alvaro Morier.
Yes.
I got it that time.
Thanks. Again, everything was the same from the first to the second. Everything is the same as far as the way we feel and all these great people coming together. And this is what makes this community is people coming together to talk about these things, you know, and to come to you guys and say, hey, these are our concerns. And you know, again, nothing against the Townleys. I do know that Tony's done amazing stuff and we've seen all that. You know, my kids are in the schools here. They've donated a ton of money. You know, there's been a lot of great things. And we do appreciate all that. But, you know, years ago when these little tiny little pods popped up, like you see with the little road come in and then boom, 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 these houses, you know, we've seen them coming for a while. And, you know, my aunt wasn't even passed away a week or two before my cousins got a call and Tony offering to buy all this land, of course, connecting to the 3 houses that are built on Acock Road, because I'm sure he would have come in and just took it all out and went ahead and added in some more because it would have conveniently been right there. So, you know, we're just trying to slow all that progression down, like we said, and preserve this farmland. I do think renters need affordable homes, but the ones next to us are going to be $2,200. You can't pay that as a, you know, working in the cafeteria at the school and things like that. So we need to go around the county and we need to find, you know, some of these really rundown areas that need help. Those are the places that Tony should come in and help. Those are the places that are already being rented, you know, that are smaller places and they're in town. I mean, it's hard to rent in downtown Watkinsville. I've got friends that are renting for, you know, high amounts in those tiny little homes. So yeah, renting is important, but I feel like we need to go into these areas that need that help already, not coming in, clearing out trees, you know, pushing trash into the, you know, the waterways and things like that. Let's think about helping other areas that need the help versus coming into these nice farm areas that need to stay farmland and stay the way they're at. Thank you.
Deborah Brown.
Okay, what I said, what I read the first time also goes for this track. The only other thing I want you to consider is I don't want this county to get into a legal problem about this in regards to the future proposed development committee years ago had agreed for many years and a certain length of time that there would be no rezoning of any land that is considered in this area for a certain length of years. I don't know if it's the same committee or not, but in 2018, and I have the maps and stuff, they updated that revised thing and said that they do not want any rezoning done in any of this area, and it's on the map. So I don't think it can be rezoned. And so we need to check that out to see. What else am I trying to say? See, I don't talk well. That's why I had to write it all down before the first time.
You're doing fine.
Okay.
Annie Frazier. We ran out of time for y'all last time, but we do have time. Don't want to leave you out.
And where's the houses going, it's just gonna block us in. We will have no sunlight, no nothing. And I have an 11-year-old grandson that loves to play outside. And if you all know boys, he got a lot of mouth. And he loves to shoot snakes and rats. He got a BB gun. And if these houses come out there, he won't be able to do that. And you know, accident can't happen. But how are we gonna explain to him that he can't do that anymore? And he's real hyper. And you could hear him maybe miles away because he's a little chunky. So I mean, he got a loud voice. But we don't want the police down there all the time. And that's what would be happening. So we're opposed to it. And like I said, we wouldn't have no sunlight or no nothing. We'd just be blocked in here because we live in a double wide.
Thank you, ma'am. James Frazier. We don't count travel time against the total, so it's no problem.
Yes, I I just want to say, to what he said, you know, I enjoy it out there in Oconee County. I love racing my guard. Don't have to be worried about nobody bothering you. And no people walking across your property. When you got someone to grill out there cooking, you ain't got to get out there and watch it, you know. But where we at now, you just sitting like on your porch to relax. And I mean, I enjoy it, right? Well, I admit, I've been there ever since, oh, I can't think how many years, but I've been there for a long time. And me and my wife, we got married, so I stayed right there. And so, you know, the subdivision, what it like that, you know, you don't know who you living next to. You know, so many different people coming in, and so many people that drugs and stuff going on now. And you know, you just don't know who to be around. And where we at now, everybody know one another. We're good neighbors. We understand one another. And everybody don't nobody bother nobody. And I like where I'm at right now. And if for the subdivision, I just don't have like the way I look at it, if Tony wanna put some houses, put it around his place. He got all that land stuff. He can't farm all of it. But you know, let the people enjoy their life. We got a few more years to go. I don't know how long I got, but you know, I want to enjoy my life. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you, sir. I hope we all have a while. How's our time, Rick? All right, does anybody else wish to speak in opposition to the request? Petitioner, you have an opportunity to respond. In that case, I'll close the public hearing and return to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
I'd like to make a comment. So if anything I said was taken that I'm against renters, that's absolutely not true. Put that out there. What my concern is, and the reason why I spoke up is because I put a lot of weight behind people that are willing to come out and give their input. And I listened to what I heard. And if there's already rental properties there and the neighbors have issues and those have not been addressed, then adding fuel to that fire is probably not a good idea. So I see that this is a way for people to hear what issues are. So perhaps the property owners that are trying to develop this might want to go entertain those. So I just want to follow up on what was said.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission?
I do have a question. We've heard the traffic impact from this. I'm curious how that compares to the traffic impact from the bus barn. Is that more than the bus barn? Equal to the bus barn?
Staff, can you share any thoughts with us on traffic count for those various uses?
Yeah, I mean, the bus barn traffic count was not analyzed as part of this, so I'm not sure. I can't speak to what that impact is. This number of houses is generally a pretty small impact. It's about 10 per house.
How many school buses does the county have?
We keep 85. I am one of those buses, have been for 10 years after retiring as a school teacher. We keep 85 on the lot, and we go, 1/3 of us head towards High Shoals and the rest have to head up to 53. We have 26 others on other school properties that have to come back at least summertime and so forth. But it's a busy place these days, ever since the bus barn got put there. And yes, the roundabout is proposed, and I think it's even out to bid for Ray's Church and 53. So it may be one of the next ones to be built. And it is a dangerous intersection, but I don't know where else we could have put it. As we're building more out to Dove Creek, it's not as central as it used to be, but there's, I think it's about as good a place as it.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the location of that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get in my mind, is this a greater traffic impact than the bus barn? Or is the bus barn greater impact on traffic than
And
7
buses,
houses.
we're all advised, except for a couple of buses that have to actually service Acock Road, Matthews Road. We've all been advised not to use Acock Road, and it's posted for 30 miles an hour. And so we aren't using it to traverse to North Oconee or something. I used to do a midday, and I'd leave plenty of time early, and I'd go down the road at 20 miles an hour to enjoy the view to get over to North Oconee. But we're told not to use it because it's not a thoroughfare. And of course, you can't tell every property owner the same thing, but the buses are not using it or should not be using it, other than those that are assigned to that area.
Any other comments from the commissioners or questions? Grace, I have a question for staff, please. Again, in the interests of clarity for the public, a question was raised about a moratorium on rezoning in this area of the county. Can you speak to that?
There's nothing in the comprehensive plan that I'm aware of that would prevent rezoning in this area.
Can I speak on that? I was one of the comprehensive planners, and it's not a dictate, it's a projection. We are trying to imagine where things are going to go and what sort of things we'd like to see happen. But there is no, we've had to deal with lots of planning issues that are diametrically opposed, as opposed to this one being sort of in character. And it's still, we have to weigh each and every one of those applications, because a comprehensive is just a projection and just an imagination as to what we would like to see. In this case, this complies pretty close to what we were hoping would happen. And of course, change is always difficult. But the comprehensive plan is not a dictate. It's not a set in stone. It's our UDC are the only things that are law-like or regulatory-like. The comprehensive plan is just the best effort of, I think it was 53 Oconee County citizens that volunteered and came together for a total of 27 hours to work on that over a period of 3 months.
For clarity, the UDC is the Unified Development Code, which is kind of the rules and regulations book for how zoning and building and all of those things are carried out and what's legal and illegal in the county.
And that does dictate minimum size, type of construction, and that sort of thing.
Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we deny the request.
We have a motion to deny from Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second from Stephen. Any discussion? And all those in favor of the motion, and by voting in favor of the motion, you vote to deny the rezone request, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Motion to deny carries. Next item on the agenda. Where did my agenda go?
Do you want to give a brief pause for anybody that's done with their business?
True enough. If you do not wish to stay and watch the machinations of your government in action, you are welcome to leave. But we'd love you to stay too. Next item on the agenda is rezone P21-0241 Kyle Scott.
Hi, thank you. This is P21-0241. It's like we're mixed up in here. All right, here we go. P21-0241 for Kyle Scott. This is currently 1 a parcel along Ridgeway Road, zoned AG agricultural, which is within the country estates character area. And the request is again to go from AG to AR in order to subdivide into 2 residential lots of at least 2 acres each. Here's the concept plan. You'll see the existing private access drive that would be retained. This proposal is to split into 2 lots. You'll see this track 2 is a flag lot, connects in the bottom right corner here to the existing private access drive, which would be upgraded to UDC standards, including the paved turnaround at the end here, providing access to tract 1 and an existing lot adjacent. Staff recommends approval, subject to 2 conditions. The first is our standard rezone condition. The second is as follows. Prior to issuance of any certificate of occupancy on the property, the existing private access drive shall be improved to meet the requirements of UDC section 1012.07. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll hear from the petitioner or the petitioner's agent.
Good evening. I'm Brett Thurman. I live in Bogart, Georgia, and I represent Kyle Scott, the owner of the property. We were before you several months ago with this same development, and we brought it back again after making a few changes, some of them in relation to the things that the adjacent landowner, Chris Boswell, had objected to. I would like to point out that we did, the road is being developed to a full 16 feet wide. Currently, it's only 10. We are, our previous application did not show the turnaround. It was listed as a condition. We've added that to the plan. Because the lot, we were going to use another easement to access track 2, but we've created a flag lot. So the parcel track 2 has its own access to the private drive. The existing gravel road there to track 2 is going to be removed. It's going to be pushed onto the flag, a pole of the flag lot, if you will. And if you look at that corner there, what will happen is rather than the road coming straight down as a straight shot right down to the Ridgeway Road, we're going to be able to put that put that drive a little closer to the west property line, and it'll turn into that corner. So it'll have a view toward the track 1 and also down the road. So that's going to slow that traffic coming out of that current house. Now, when those people come and go, they're going to have to slow at that corner to make a turn into the drive, or when they're coming out, they're going to have to make a right turn out of the drive. So that's going to make that little corner there much safer. I'll point out that the intent here has always been that track 1 would be developed as a single family home for sale. It's we're building a 2,500 to 3,500 square foot proposed building there. That's shown in one of our site information notes. And I think the other thing that we took away is that while there are renters in that house, the whole point here is to slowly be able to convert this over to purchase single owner property here, and at the same time continue to fund upgrades to the track 2 house, which is currently a rental, and foreseeable future it probably will remain that way. But over time, we're hoping that that could possibly be changed to a single family home of a larger size, possibly, so that we could have all owners here on this tract of property. And I am here for any questions you may have, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Signed up to speak in favor of the proposal is Kyle Scott.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just wanted to address some of the concerns Mr. Boswell had at the previous meeting.
Mr. Scott, would you state your address?
Oh,
please?
yes, sir. Kyle Scott. I live at 1693 Route Jackson Road, Bogart.
Thank you.
Mr. Boswell is worried about the condition of the house. I was in the Navy for 6 years. I was not in the area. The house did get a little rundown while I was away. In the past 9 months since I've been back, I put $15,000 into it to improve the house. Front yard is all mowed. I rebuilt the deck, put a new roof on it. The exterior of the house looks much better than it did when I was gone. So hopefully his concerns about the condition of the house are no longer an issue. Another concern he had was traffic. According to the UDC, I'm going to be required to widen the driveway that's there at my cost. So there are not going to be cars going up one side and meeting each other and having to back up or anything like that. It's going to be wide enough for 2 cars to pass by. So traffic on that little driveway shouldn't be an issue if this gets approved because it will be a wider driveway. Another issue is Mr. Boswell is not a big fan of my tenants at the house currently. They did destroy the house. Like I said, I put $15,000 into it. Their lease is up in July and they destroyed my house and I'm gonna have to ask them to go. So I'm gonna try and get some new tenants in that are gonna keep the house up a little nicer and hopefully appreciate my tenants a little better. Been any questions? That's all I have for you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of this request? Signed up to speak in opposition, we have Chris Boswell.
I'm obviously Chris Boswell. I live, can you pull that map up, please? So, no, that's, can you do the, well, so where that square is, I live on to the right of it on 1372. Currently, so I bought that land in 2016, and I know we were here a few months ago. Some of y'all were here and some of you weren't, but I bought that land in 2016. There was a mobile home on it. We lived in it while we built the house. Since and after we built, we got the trailer moved out of there. And I know he'd mentioned he was in service, and I do appreciate his service, and I told him that. And I was in contact with his dad a handful of times while he was out of town on a few things. One thing is I contacted, making note that I was going to pave the driveway. It is it's 887 feet from the Ridgeway Road to where it turns to go straight to that lot right there. I paid $27,000 of my own money. Nobody had any interest of paying for it. I maintain that easement. I'm the only one getting taxed for that asphalt. That whole driveway, I'm the only one, and his tenants are using it, which his property, and I'm the only one on tax that's getting taxed for that for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but I've, just to keep everything looking nice, I've asphalted, I've gravelled his driveway twice just to keep it looking good, because the tenants told me, we don't care, we lived on a dirt road, it don't make nothing to us. So I've done nothing but improve it out there and continue to do so. You know, as far as traffic goes, these two gentlemen, they don't live out there. I do. We can sit here all day saying, oh, there's only 2 or 3 cars. Well, there's probably maybe 6 cars, tractor trailer that come in and out of that driveway on top of my family of 5, not including that first lot has a family that uses it as well. So the traffic's already there, much less if you add another lot to that. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. And he, like he did mention, he has done some improvements. About 6 months ago, I had this property under contract for a certain amount. And after going in inspection into the house, I knew the outside was rough because I see it every day. But I went inside the house and it was something I've never seen before. And he's done improvements to the outside. That's like putting Band-Aid on I don't know what. But my point is, and then him making a statement saying, oh, I'm gonna eventually sell it. It's not, I'm gonna kick him out. That, he could say that all day and not, I ain't seen that forever. I've heard that for over a year now, and that had happened. I've heard, oh, they pay rent, we're not kicking them out. And if you buy it, I want you to keep them in the house. So them moving out, making it sound better, that's irrelevant. The, also another issue, there's already act is if there's another house out there and another vehicles, because there's a family, I don't know how many, I know a lady for sure is living in a camper on the property. That's a whole nother code enforcement issue, but there's a camper living on the house. It was in the front, now it's in the side, and I'm looking at it from my carport, and she's in there every day. She's sitting on the front steps, smoking, doing whatever she does. So, and then when I was on the property, when we were doing the inspection, the camper, I don't know if it's been changed or not, the camper was releasing its bowels into the field. So that's, like I said, that's a whole nother issue, but the main, and then you got cars coming in and out all times of the day. We pulled in one night, a 13-year-old girl was cuddled up with a guy in a ditch. And my boy's like, what are they doing? I mean, so it's, you know, he can rent to whoever he wants to. That's his property. You know, it is what it is. But adding another part of the house to that little section just doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. And like I said, I've kept that all up with no help for 4 years now. I invested a lot of money in my property. I built a nice home. I got a nice barn out there. It's real quiet. And like I said, you know, renters are renters, and go back to the few issues that the two elements before this case came to mind. You know, not all renters are bad, and everybody's got different situations, but you know, between these people, and I could say this because I've been in the house. I'm not just saying it because I'm driving. So I don't see that changing anyway. Like I said, he did a little surface to it, and you know, it looked better. But the main concern is that driveway, the amount of cars that are already coming, a tractor trailer coming. Right now, like they mentioned, it is 10 feet wide, and there's nowhere to pass right now. And can you pull up where he's saying that the cul-de-sac's going to be? So right there where that cul-de-sac is, I have two columns right there. And so it butts up, right on the line, if not on the line. And so that's a concern with mine. And they come down that gravel driveway, and that piece said he mowed the pasture, and he did, but that was probably the first time in 3 years. And he's made these adjustments recently after we had this first meeting here. That's when it's just been done. Up till then, nothing's been done. That pasture's been over my head. And so when you come around that corner for my property, they're coming down that gravel drive, well, mud now, but coming down there hauling, and it's a hazard. So, and like I said, there's probably 5+ cars there. So I don't know how many people are driving, but the traffic's there already. So add another house, the 3 to 4 or 5 more cars on top of that land that's in front of it. That's a daggum highway. We're out, that track was 20 acres at one point, and it was broken into 5-acre parcels. And, you know, dear God, how could we, keep just squeezing them in there? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I think that's about all I gotta say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition to the request? Yes, ma'am. Please come up and state your name and your address.
I'm Diane Grant. I live at 2001 Morris Ford Road, and our property is just right on the other side of that cul-de-sac. And if you want to show that map, I can show you the lines of our house. Mr. Boswell's driveway, the one with the red box, there you go. Where the red box is on the left, you see those 2 little slits of land, and one angles up. We're right in the middle, and our back of our property, which is agricultural because we have honeybees, is right along his driveway. And we do have a buffer of some bushes and trees, a little bit of a buffer, but it's mostly pasture right up to that. And if they widen that road, I mean, it's a driveway. If they're going to make it a road, it's going to be very wide. And I was glad that you said you were a bus driver because I was concerned, will a bus go up that back road just for two houses? I wouldn't think. Would the children have to go down to Ridgeway Road? That was a concern. If the buses come right behind our property and the rental house that's currently there, we have chicken farms not too far away and we can smell the chicken farms from time to time, which is not a problem. But when you're out on your pasture and you smell raw sewage, there's a problem. And I'm a former educator also, and I thought if they're renting, if there's children there, I was concerned. So that made me concerned of the property owner. So I'm worried about the widening of the road and if the bus is going to turn around there or if the children have to walk all the way to Ridgeway. So those were my concerns.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else wish to speak in opposition to the request? Petitioner has time to respond if they so choose.
Thank you. I guess I feel Mr. Boswell's paying for having paved the road and now finding out somebody else is going to come along and attempt to pave even more of the road. I'm not sure why he did it. Well, maybe it was too bad to get to Ridgeway. I've got no clue. But the fact of the matter is, none of that was his property. And so, I don't know if he called up and got permission to pave it or he just did it on his own. He said he certainly paid for it on his own. And nor do I see how the Oconee County could charge him for asphalt on somebody else's property and raise his taxes. That doesn't seem logical to me. With regards to the driveway, the road itself, again, it's going to be widened to 16 feet. The whole purpose of the cul-de-sac at the end of it is to allow for emergency vehicles and buses, those size vehicles, in order to make a turnaround at the end of the road when you have a private drive so that school children can be picked up safely on all those parcels that front that road. The track 2 will front the road itself. And so, in terms of a school bus, it would probably come in and turn around in the cul-de-sac and come back down. And school children would be there at the base of the driveway at the corner where the road turns to go toward Mr. Boswell's property. And so that would be the likelihood of way a school bus would probably negotiate this parcel. I'll note that Ms. Grant's property is not on the private drive. The private road would be coming up through the flagpole part of the lot there to get to the house in the back. So that's not being wide, and that's not going to be 16 feet wide. That's just going to be a standard driveway. And then the other issue that Mr. Boswell brought up was a number of columns, I guess, that are on the property. If you'll note the plan, we show an easement around the cul-de-sac. The easement itself touches Mr. Boswell's property, but the paving of the cul-de-sac does not. It's about, I think that's 5 or 10 feet away. I can't read my plan right there. It's so small, but we are not paving all the way up to the property, nor will we come in an area there where we would destroy any columns that he may have on his property. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, I'll close the public hearing and return to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
I'll make one comment on the subject of school buses. We would not go up there other than special needs buses that are much smaller because all kids are obligated to walk at least a 1/10 of a mile if we can't get to their actual driveway. So in that type of situation of the emergency vehicles, that's the way access is there.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Grace, I have a question. Don't expect you to be able to answer this other than to hopefully point us in the right direction. But in regards to the issue of raw sewage discharge on the property, who would the appropriate county agency to be? who would the appropriate county agency be to bring that to their attention?
Should that be environmental health? We'd have to look into that.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments from the commission, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and start. I would like to propose that we deny this subdivide. It is a lot stickier than I think the last one was. So I'd like to make a motion that we deny.
All right, we have a motion to deny from Chuck. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second from Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny, by which we mean if you vote yes, you vote in favor of denial, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion to deny is approved unanimously. Next items on the agenda are rezone case P210242 and special use case P210243. Grace, with your permission, we'll hear both of those at the same time and vote on them independently.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. We have P21, rezone P210242 and special use case P210243, which are part of the same project. There are currently two parcels at the intersection of 316 and Dials Mill Extension. The larger piece is currently zoned OBP, Office Business Park. The smaller one is currently zoned AG Agricultural. It is within the Technology Gateway character area. And the two requests are one, to rezone the property from the existing AG and OBP zoning to all OBP for multi-use commercial development. And the special use request is for the mini warehouse and self-service storage component of the development. You'll see on the concept plan, this section to the north here, this is the storage and mini warehouse section with an office warehouse building here to the south. Staff recommends approval subject to 4 conditions. The first 3 are the standard zoning conditions. Sorry, this is for the rezone only. And number 4, which is all exterior building facade materials shall be brick, stone, or stucco. The special use is also recommended for approval subject to the same conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll hear from the petitioner or the agent for the petition.
Thank you. My name's Frank Pittman. I'm here. I live at 1400 Saxon Road in Watkinsville. I'm here tonight representing the property owners, Mr. Mike Power, who is here tonight, and who owns one of the tracks, and the other is owned by the Huff Estate. As Grace mentioned, these 2 tracks are on Dallas Mill Extension, just north of 316 on the corner. They total roughly 6 acres. The larger tract is zoned OBP today for an office park. We're requesting to keep that OBP, but change the plan that is approved with that. And then we're asking to rezone the piece on the corner between the OBP piece and 316 to also OBP. The plan would be for up to 7 buildings of self-storage and one building of office warehouse. The project would not use any utilities from the county. They would be on septic and on well system. There is no county utilities in the area. There would also obviously be no strains on the school system, as there will be creating jobs and not putting people under roofs. So there would be a tax increase for the county without any strain on utilities or schools. There would be minimal traffic. The total projected traffic is 150 trips a day, which is very minimal. The property, as it sits today, the ag piece
is really not suitable for residential use as it backs up to 316. So the noise and pollution from the highway make it such that it really would never be conducive to a new residential tract. This project is in conformance with the character map, as Grace mentioned, and staff has recommended approval, and I asked for you guys to recommend approval as well. And I'm open for any questions y'all may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of the request? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and return to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a question. What's the plan that we know that's so far for Giles Mill and 316, and what might we want to think about with respect to that intersection?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the design has been completed at this point. I think
Are they thinking flyover, or is it going to be a dead stop there?
I think it's the other Giles Mill that gets the flyover.
So this one's going to end up probably just being a. Right, okay.
The meetings that I've attended, this one looks like it's the one that gets cut off from 316.
Wow, so no right in, right out. Okay. Okay, so my other question was, could you remind at least me height restrictions on? Well, one of the pictures shows kind of a tower, kind of a second story, at least for the self-storage. What are the height restrictions for this?
It would be based on the zoning, and I do not know off the top of my head if
But it fits.
it's within the restrictions of the
I think
UDC,
we can go
yes.
30 feet without a special variance.
And that's not what's being requested here.
Correct.
Okay,
Self-storage can go up to 4 stories by code. We only have, self-storage by code could go up to 4 stories. What we're proposing here is everything to be 1 story. There, except one building is 2 stories, a split level because of slope. So you'd enter on almost like a basement level on one side, but nothing any taller than that. I mean, there may be a projection at the office or something like that picture that goes a little bit, but it wouldn't be any higher. I think probably 2 stories.
thank you.
I have one on number 3, or number 2 on the impact analysis. I suppose that's a settlement pond.
That would be a stormwater management pond to meet all the stormwater code requirements. Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve from Scott. Do we have a second? So I keep wanting to say Gavin because it's right Chris instead, but yes, Chris. Bad eyes on my part. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimous. There is no other new business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have to vote on.
Oh, yes, shucks, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. I take a month off and I forget everything. It's terrible. All right, so we also have to vote on the special use. Any questions from the commission before we do so? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Scott. Second. Second from Steven. All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Now. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion from Scott, second.
Gavin, second.
There we go. Chuck as proxy for Gavin. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
What shit's been